First hand position we're going to take a look at is the iron bone hand. In the Bubishi, it's called the iron bone hand. In the picture, it's pictured just like this. Now, a lot of people have interpreted that over time to be what's called the modern day ridge hand, where they strike with the side of the hand. Now, that's an excellent weapon and viable even in Kyusho. Okay? But what's missing is the positioning of the hand and the thumb position. The iron bone is not this, because this is a series of bones. There's small metacarpals and all little bones in the hand. The one big bone in the hand is at the base of the thumb. The iron bone, being the strong bone of the hand, is going to be this bone here. Now, there's two ways you can use this technique, and there's one way that you really shouldn't because you could damage your own hand. The way that you shouldn't hit with this is as you are hitting a ridge hand, hitting on the side, because as you press that, you're going to be able to rip or tear tendons or ligaments inside that hand structure, and that could be more injurious, especially if you hit something like a hard skull. The other way you can hit it that is correct is you could hit it with a downward motion, because now the bone is backed up by the whole content of the hand. So striking downward is going to have a very safe application for you. This is not good so much against the hard bone because it is a rather painful area to hit, because the nerve, the radial nerve, does run down the outside aspect. So if you were hitting into soft tissue, say the large intestine 18 or the stomach 9, you could use this aspect of the weapon. Now, a formidable weapon, and my favorite, is the front of the thumb. Now, a lot of people would not have the ability to tuck their thumb this way. I didn't when I first started. Mine was somewhere over here. But through years of practice, I've been able to extend that bone and to use that very well in targeting. And it's a very solid bone because you're striking into the strength of the bone, the length. You're also being pushed back into the solid structure of the wrist and the arm. So striking forward in this manner has a lot of strength and integrity. And for the most part, we're going to be using this as we demonstrate, but I do want to show a couple applications of this aspect as well. So this is the iron bone thumb. Okay, another reason why I like this hand position, out of all the 6G hands, this is my favorite. Okay, everybody's going to have their own particular favorite. What I like about this thumb is it's very easy to put into places that normally are very difficult to get to. For example, okay, on the side of the person's body, right at the last floating rib underneath the rib cage, is a pressure point called liver 13. Okay, liver 13, to get in with a palm strike, you can do it sometimes, but it's very difficult. Sometimes the person has a little bit more mass there, maybe they tuck their arm down, so the body structure comes in. What happens with this is because it's so thin, and because it's a bone and it can penetrate into the body tissue easier than maybe a palm would do, that this is a very excellent weapon for striking here. Also, from a grappled situation, I don't have to again pull my hand back to get strength to come in. It's a very easy push, which will just take the person right up, down off their feet. Okay? Sorry about that. Now, what happens is that doesn't cause unconsciousness unless hit very well. Okay? But what happens is you saw this leg fold up. The nervous system pulls the leg in, and it also tucks the torso, and that's why he compressed on that side and fell to that side. So say I'm doing judo or jiu-jitsu, or just grappled in a self-defense situation. If I have another person coming from over here, attacking from over here, I don't want to be fooling with this guy and get blindsided by a strike coming in. I want to be able to take the person down by striking here and then having the person fall in the way of this individual coming at me. So that way I know that striking on either side, I can get an effect and I can drop the person where I need him and when I need him. So that's the iron bone. Okay, now I showed the application in the first technique of going into the strength of the thumb. I also mentioned earlier that the second way you could hit it was coming downward. This works better on softer tissue like the stomach 9 in the front of the sternocleidoid muscle, or on the side at large intestine 18. Could you turn this way? Now, striking down onto the stomach 9 or the large intestine 18, they will both react similarly if I strike them similarly. Now, one of the kinetic energy uses of this hand position and all the G hands is that I'm not just shooting my hand out or my arm. I'm not using just my arm. I need to send a little bit more energy through the kinetics than just my arm motion. Okay, because if you watch anything on slow motion, say you throw a punch, okay, in fast motion it looks like the hand sticks straight, comes straight out in a very linear fashion. But when you watch it in slow motion, you'll actually see the arm has a traveling. That's because the certain muscles of the arms are pulling at different times. It will lift as the bicep gets into action. It will drop as the tricep gets into action. So that's why you have that wave pattern going on. What I need to do is have that force coming forward, but I don't want my force coming at the target this way. I want my force to come into a very sharp, short transmission of energy, or kinetics. And how I do that is with my hand. If I'm striking straight, which you might not have seen on the prior technique, it might have looked like my hand just went straight up. But what happened was my hand flicked out. And that caused that little bit, that short motion, which is going to be a lot more straight and a lot more focused kinetic energy going into the target. Okay? This will be with all the hand positions. So the motion is more with the wrist twisting. Now, there are actually ancient martial arts, like White Crane Kung Fu, that will come out into that posture, and there's a very distinct motion. Okay? That's what we're using here. Now, on this targeting, I'm going to be striking with this aspect of the thumb. So what I want to do is I want to do a transfer downward. Okay? It's not going to be my arm striking like I was striking with a ridge hand. Now, that's possible, but I also want to show you that if I'm coming through this action and my arm is extended, there's a good chance of pulling a muscle. There's also a weakness because my hand is coming out this way, my elbow can lock, and I can hyperextend. Okay, so what I want to do is save myself and just keep the energy in for a short transfer with the thumb. That way my arm is more protected and it's also more relaxed. So I'm not trying to go with force this way, which tightens the muscles here, which fights the energy that's going into the opponent. I want to just make a quick little twist so my arm is relaxed, and at the last second there's a drop. And this is what's going to make the kinetic energy go into the body just a little easier. So when I'm striking stomach now, I'm going to strike on large intestine 18 for the safety. But when I strike, my thumb is going to actually come in and down to cause the effect. Okay, can you sit up? Okay. Now, a lot of times you see in the prior films and in seminars, okay, 1 second, please. Back. Okay. You're going to see the person attempts to get up. Now, I'm not trying to knock these people completely unconscious. There's no use for it. I mean, this is the 16th film. You've seen the Kyusho. Most of the people that have already seen the DVDs have also gone to a seminar and they've experienced the Kyusho. They know it's real. But what I wanted to show is even though he was able to slap out from his prior training, okay, he was not able to fight. You saw his legs jump up off the floor. He didn't fall down. He jumped up and then came down. You also notice that when we sit people up, it looks like they're trying to get up or they're still awake, and they are. They're only at a level 2 state of unconsciousness. But as I asked him this time, I think this is the first time I've done this on the DVDs, as I asked him to get up and he said he couldn't because the body is dysfunctioned. The nervous system is shocked so that there's no energy really strengthening the muscles of the legs, the torso, or the arms so he can press himself up. And that's why we sit the person up ourselves to revive them. So that's a little bit more on the kinetic energy involved in the iron bone.